DIY auto repair.
All right, guys. So here we are with our new project vehicle. So it's going to be a 2001 Lexus RX 300. And this vehicle might look familiar because this is the vehicle that we actually installed a new radiator for. It's hidden behind, but you can see the new radiator there. So this was actually our customer's vehicle that now belongs to us. She sold it to us. So we're gonna give you a look around the vehicle, a quick little look around, and then we're gonna bring you back and give you the backstory on how I acquired this vehicle, as well as the major problem that it has. So, give you a look around. And yes, we are holding it up because those struts are shot and they need to be replaced. So here's the engine. Quick little peek. Now we'll go ahead and go inside the car. So now we're in the vehicle. Got some good space. That's our code reader. One of our code readers, our impact gun. Got leather seats. We'll go to the back. A lot of space, a lot of room. So we'll go ahead and turn the car on. We have 240,745 miles on the clock, guys. So we'll go out there and let you hear the engine. Sounds pretty good. Okay, guys, so the story behind this vehicle, or what I know about it. So the customer brought this to me sometime late last year, and we installed an antenna mast on this vehicle. It was an aftermarket antenna mast. I didn't do a video on, but we installed a new antenna for this customer. She also had me to look at a few other things, just visual. I did see a big oil leak below. Obviously, I didn't get too much into that, and she did have a problem with constantly adding coolant. Her old mechanic that she was taking it to was not very honest with her. He was actually selling her water to put into her coolant reservoir, and he was saying it was actual coolant for the vehicle. She brought out the bottle of coolant that she was been purchasing from this mechanic, and I noticed it was clear, and I smelt of it, and it smelled like water. It was water. So I gave her some extra coolant I had to fill her reservoir, and she did advise me that she was only allowed to get that if she paid for it. So I think that's very dishonest, and I let her know that she probably shouldn't be going back to him. Obviously, I wanted the business, but what's right is right. I mean, that was wrong. So I told her the truth on that. What else did we notice? Yeah, we noticed obviously she had a coolant leak and some type of oil below leaking. It was unclear if it was automatic transmission fluid or oil. I do remember that day she was a little low on oil, engine oil, and I topped her off with some oil that I had. So I'm assuming that leak was actually oil, engine oil. So fast forwarding, she had actually wanted me to diagnose where the oil leak was coming from. So I advised her I would need time to clean up the bottom, put some special dye in it, run it, and find out where the leak is coming from via UV light. She said okay, but unfortunately we never got to it. Our schedules conflicted and it just never happened. Fast forward to early this year. No, cancel that. Yeah, it was sometime in January, I believe. Customer called me because she was having smoke coming from the front of her vehicle and she wanted me to do a diagnostic on it. Well, that was when we found the giant crack in the radiator. And I'll go ahead and link that video up there so you guys can check that out. So it was such a big leak that I was unable to find any other leaks at the time. And I advised her I'm going to have to replace for sure the radiator and then try to do another test to see if there's any more leaks in the system. So when I did this radiator replacement, the customer was really needing the vehicle back by a certain time because they needed to go to work. So we did our best after we installed the radiator. We did a pressure test and we did see that it was dropping pressure. It was leaking somewhere. I spent a good hour trying to find where the leak was coming from. So I advised the customer I needed more time, but I was pretty sure that it was an internal leak, that it was a head gasket problem. I did not do a head gasket test because I didn't have the time. The customer needed the vehicle back. I told her if it is a head gasket, that's something that I would not be able to do for her at the time. So fast forwarding to about 3 weeks ago. So fast forwarding, guys, about a week ago, or a little less than a week ago, a few days ago, I actually got a call from my customer stating if I knew anybody that would want to buy her Lexus as is, or if I could find a used transmission to put into her vehicle. So I was like, okay. So she proceeded to tell me that she got a brand new car. It's a Nissan. And basically, it's very hard to get a true understanding of what actually was going on or what actually happened. But from what she said, about a month ago, she had her oil leak fixed from this other mechanic. I don't know if it was the same one she used to go to. I don't know who did it or exactly what they did. All she could tell me was I was trying to understand, did he or she change the head gasket or the oil pan gasket? And she said it's inside the engine. That's all she could tell me. She said that the guy showed her, I think it was a male. I think the guy showed her the gasket, and that's what she needed to buy. He charged, I think she's told me with parts and labor, I think it was like 600 plus is what that's exactly how she said it was, like 600 plus. So I'm unsure if the head gasket was fixed or if it was supposed to be the oil pan. And I'll take you guys under there shortly. The oil pan gasket looks like it's fairly new. I don't know for sure. I can't get a true story of what's going on with this vehicle. So it gets even crazier, guys. So the vehicle was initially parked at a used car lot in Downey. So from my understanding, that's where her AAA sent the vehicle, or I don't know exactly how everything transpired. All I know is she had told me that a mechanic looked at it and they said it needed a new transmission and it was going to be about $2,500 to install. I'm assuming, I don't know if that's including the transmission. I think she said it was going to cost like almost under $3,000 to put a new transmission in the vehicle. So she was wanting to know if I knew anybody that wanted to purchase the vehicle as is, or if I could find a used transmission and put it in for her. She just didn't want to keep putting money into this vehicle. She's put a lot of money into it so far. So after thinking about it, I know I installed the radiator. I don't know what else. I don't know what other work has been done or what screw-ups have been done, because it seems like a lot of people has been taking advantage of this poor customer, and I really feel bad for her. So I know the last time I had the vehicle and I drove it, it drove pretty well, actually. No transmission problems, no engine problems. It was all just routine maintenance. You had an oil leak. It's a 2001. It's going to have leaks. Gaskets are going to fail after so many years. So, and suspension problems in the sense of, blown out joints, ball joints and stuff like that. So it's normal. It's an older car. But she's been taking it to, and this is what sucks about this line of work or this industry, is you have so many dishonest mechanics out there that just prey on taking advantage of people. And that's why I actually got into this line of work, is because of that. It's just sad that you're over there selling somebody water in a coolant container. It's unbelievable. But anyway, so I decided to go ahead and purchase the vehicle. I went ahead and purchased the vehicle, and now it's sitting in my garage. So attempting to ask exactly what the car was doing before it stopped or what happened, the only thing I could get out of the customer was that she had been driving. She had been working long distance. She travels for her work, different areas. She had been driving pretty much day and night for the last 2 weeks. And she had filled up her tank, and I think it was shortly after that, her car, she said she's like, I think it overheated, or there was just no transmission fluid in the transmission, and it just stopped. That's all I really got from her. Yeah, we haven't really done anything to the car. I'm just kind of giving you guys an update, and we're going to kind of go through some stuff. But that is what I got out of the customer. It's not very much. So she apparently had the car diagnosed with somebody else. I don't know if it was the used car lot that diagnosed it or if it was another mechanic that diagnosed it, but they said that she needed a new transmission and it would be almost $3,000. So when I finally got the vehicle, and I'll show you guys shortly, all I did was plug up a code reader to it, and there's no codes. There's no check engine light. There's no nothing. But I do know that somebody erased some codes, or the battery had been disconnected. I don't know which one, and I don't know for what reason. I do know that the transmission is completely overfilled with fluid. So I'll get more into that here shortly. But anyway, there's no codes. So I don't know if things were trying to be hid. I don't know why it's so overfilled. I don't know if somebody was trying to like take advantage of her again in the sense of getting unnecessary repairs done. I don't know if, they were trying to cover something up, and they cleared the code so that another mechanic can't call them out on it. I don't know. I don't know what the case is. And maybe it's not even like that. Maybe it's just, maybe the battery had died at one point, or they had disconnected the battery for whatever reason and it cleared the codes, or maybe there was even no codes at all. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and jump into this. We're going to go ahead and just go through a couple things. We have really no direction to start. So the only thing that's going on, the engine starts up fine, as you guys heard. And let me go ahead and start this up and I'll show you what it's doing. So I know the car's up on jack stands right now, but this car will not move. It won't move in any gear. So we're in park. We could go to reverse. You can't even feel the transmission shifting. Going neutral, it won't go in drive. Goes in second gear and it goes in low. And again, you cannot feel the transmission shifting. So it goes in gear, it won't go in drive, and the car is just completely stagnant. It just will not do anything. It won't move. So I don't know what's going on. What we're going to do is I'll show you guys the fluid. We did do a quick check on the shifting cable because I was thinking, well, maybe that's what it was, but no, the shift cable is completely fine. It cycles through all the gears. The only thing I have to go off of right now is the transmission fluid is completely overfilled. And I do know that, when customers or when people are driving their vehicles and they don't really know what they're doing, if they see leaks, they'll just start filling up all the fluids, overfilling them, and it's not uncommon for that to happen. So we're gonna check that out first. Like I said, we already went and checked the shift cable. We're gonna go ahead, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna drain the fluid and we're gonna drop the pan, and we're gonna see if there's any kind of metal shavings or anything that's gonna indicate to us that the transmission is shot. I don't think the transmission is completely shot. I think there's something else going on there. I think we have a torque converter problem or a pressure solenoid problem. I think there's something else going on there, because if we didn't have that problem, we should be able to get the transmission to do something. It should make a noise. It should slip. It should do something. But right now we just have basically a dead transmission. So we're going to go ahead and do those checks. But I mean, worst case scenario, we're going to have to probably put a transmission in this vehicle, and I'll bring you guys along for the ride for that. But until now, this is just where we're at. We're giving you guys an update. We're going to go ahead and drain that pan before I start getting too much into a big diagnosis of this vehicle. We're just going to drop that pan. The fluid's way too high. It's way overfilled anyway, and the gasket is pretty shot. So we're just going to go ahead, drop the pan. If we see no metal shavings, we're going to go ahead and put a new filter in it. We're going to put a new gasket, and we're going to torque it down to spec, and we're going to see what that does. If that doesn't do anything, then we're going to move on to a more in-depth diagnostic. But if obviously we see metal shavings, we're just going to cut it from there and just start focusing on getting a new transmission. So sorry for the rambling on, guys. This is a really weird situation. I really can't get a clear understanding of what this vehicle was doing or what happened or who touched what or who did what. So let me show you guys what I'm talking about. Okay, so we're going to use our little scan tool here to go ahead and check the system. So we have no powertrain codes, right? But look at our PIDs here. Our catalytic, our evap,
our O2s and our heater. Those are flashing red, which means those monitors are not ready. So this is an indication that someone has either disconnected the battery or they went in here and cleared some codes. So why would they do that? They're either trying to be dishonest and cover something up, or I don't know. I really don't know. I can't answer that question, guys. But it's just really weird that the situation that we have where the transmission is just not doing nothing. It's just like completely offline and we have no check engine light or no codes. It just doesn't make sense to me. We should have something. So, I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts? Go ahead and put it in the comment section down below. Tell me what you guys think. Okay, guys, so we come over here to my higher end scan tool. I was trying to see if I could see any codes that were, even though they're erased, you can sometimes still pull a code that's stored on the computer. Right now, it's not showing it, but yesterday when I looked into this, there was actually an engine and ECT code that actually popped up. But it was actually just for a misfire. So that's not going to have anything to do with the transmission. At least not yet, anyway. So there's no trouble codes detected. But yesterday I was able to retrieve one misfire code. But yeah, so that's where we're at now. So enough talking. I don't want to make this video too long. So now we're going to go ahead. Before we do anything, we could reset the computer with our scan tool here, but I don't want to do that just yet. I think what we might do is we might go ahead and disconnect the battery and just let it reset in that sense. And then we might try to cycle through the gears one more time, but regardless, there's still too much oil in that system. So I think even before we do that, we're going to go ahead and drain out all the oil, all the fluid from the automatic transmission, and maybe pull that pan down and maybe see if there's any evidence of see what we can find under there, see if there's any kind of evidence of metal shavings or what the case may be. So all right, guys, enough rambling on. Let's get down to business. So I don't know if you guys could see, but there's the head gasket peeking out right there, right under the exhaust manifold, and it looks fairly new, as well as the valve cover gasket up there, that blue. I don't know if you could see it. It looks fairly new, so maybe they actually did do the work, at least on the back side. But on the front side, yeah, it's definitely looks old, but who knows. So what I was talking about here was the gasket looks fairly new, but you can see oil coming out right there. So we're not going to worry with that right now. All we're going to worry about is our transmission pan here. As you can see, the gasket is pretty shot and it's overfilled. So I'm going to go up top, show you guys how overfilled it is, and then we're going to go ahead and start draining this and investigate what's going on underneath that pan. Alright guys, so we're going to go ahead and check this transmission fluid. I know it's not going to be too accurate because we have the vehicle already up on jack stands and it's not level. But I've already checked this prior to this, and I want to show you guys exactly where the level was at, or is at. Get my light, so hopefully you guys can see this. So our cold minimum is this first mark. Our cold minimum is this first mark. Our cold max is the second mark. Our hot minimum is this mark. Our hot max is this mark.
the level comes up all the way to here. So here's our hot max, here's our minimum cold max. So that's a big difference. This thing is super overfilled. So hopefully, if we're lucky, we're just dealing with the problem that the transmission is overfilled and or the filter is clogged. So let's go ahead and drop that pan and see what awaits us. Okay, you guys, so there's our drain bolt there. It's gonna be a hex 10. And we're gonna go ahead and crack that loose and drain it out. Okay, now I'm smelling burnt, so probably not a good sign. Alright guys, so here is what we got out. We got about one full container and about a little less than a quarter of another container. So now we're gonna go underneath there and zip off that pan. All right guys, so you're gonna have 18 fasteners holding it on to the transmission, and they're all gonna be 10 millimeter. So we're gonna go ahead and zip those out and we'll bring you guys right back. All right guys, so for these fasteners, this frame gets in the way a little bit. Don't even bother try using a 3/8 drive ratchet or a swivel. Just go with the just go with the 1/4 inch, and it gets right in there really easy. So we got one fastener left. We're gonna crack that loose and pull it halfway out, and the same for this one. And then we're gonna take probably a trim tool and go between the pan and the transmission and pop that pan loose from the old gasket, and we're gonna leave these fasteners in so that it doesn't fall. Then once we got it disengaged from the old gasket, then we're gonna go ahead and take that fastener and that fastener out by hand and then drop the pan. So we'll bring you guys back once we get the pan dropped. So here's our pan, guys. So we do see chunks of metal. Focus, no. It's not gonna focus. So yeah, that's not a good sign. Let's see if I can. Not looking good, guys. So we have another piece here. And that's it. And then all this is metal shavings as well. There's another big chunk. See, yeah, not looking good. I think this transmission is toast. Here's another one. Magnets do a pretty good job. could just feel the metal shavings. Not looking good, guys. So here's our valve body. And our filter. So we're gonna go ahead and take that filter off. Just see what's behind it. So it's gonna be 3 fasteners, 2 on the right, 1 on the left, and they're gonna be 10 millimeter. All right, guys, so here's our valve body here. So we're gonna go ahead, we have a new filter and a new gasket and some new quality transmission fluid. I don't know if it's gonna do anything, but at this point, for $50 worth of parts, it's worth trying rather than replacing the transmission right away, because that's a $3,000 rebuilt transmission for this thing. So we're gonna go ahead, pop in a new filter, a new gasket, pour some oil in it, and see what happens. All right, guys, so we got our oil pan cleaned out, our transmission oil pan cleaned out, got all the gasket material off. We put a small bead of RTV sealant on it, and then we've got the gasket on it, and the RTV sealant, and we have a bolt on all four corners to help hold it in. So now we're gonna place it up there and bolt this back together. So as you guys can see here, we got our new filter back on, and we got the surface, mating surface for the oil pan cleaned up. We're gonna go ahead and bolt this back together and see what happens. All right, guys, so we got our pan down and torqued to spec. So all of your bolts connecting your pan to your transmission is going to be 69 inch-pounds. 69 inch-pounds, guys. Not very much. It's about 5-6 foot-pounds. There was no spec in the service information for our drain bolt, but we went ahead and torqued it down to 20 foot-pounds, which is about what your engine oil drain plug typically is. And just remember that you want to go through and hand tighten them first, and then go through and torque them down. And you want to do it in like a crisscross pattern. You don't want to just hammer down one side and then it's going to be uneven. The gasket's not going to seal properly and you're going to have leaks. So just an FYI, guys. So we got it all torqued down. I've done a video similar to this in my 2004 Toyota Camry. I'll go ahead and put a link up there so you guys can check it out. Check out that video. So now we're gonna go ahead and put the transmission fluid in and let's see what happens, guys. All right, guys, so we're gonna be using Valvoline Max Life Full Synthetic ATF. This is compatible with this Lexus. If we come back here, we can see Toyota Lexus Type 5 is what we want. So this is compatible with our vehicle. So we're gonna go ahead and put this in. It's gonna take pretty much this whole gallon. It's gonna take pretty much everything. We're only gonna have a little bit left. I think it's like 3.5 liters and this is 3.78 liters. So it's gonna take about all of it, guys. So we're gonna go ahead, remove our dipstick. This is considered an open transmission. So we're able to feel our transmission here from the dipstick. So let's go ahead and start filling this bad boy up. All right, guys. So unfortunately, that didn't seem to help at all. I cycled through all the gears a few times, and there's no change whatsoever. Even before I did this, I did notice when you turn off the engine, you hear this like little grinding noise as the engine is stopping. So I have a feeling that there's a disconnect or there's something broke, whether it's the flywheel or it's the torque converter. There's something in that area that's just it's not connecting right. So we might end up dropping this engine and seeing what we might end up dropping this transmission and seeing what we find. So that'll be it for this video. There's going to be a part 2, part 3, part 4, however many parts it takes to get this fixed and on the road, guys. So there you have it. Quick little rundown on the backstory of this vehicle, as well as a fluid and filter change to see if that would solve the problem. But unfortunately, it didn't. So now we're going to go to the next step. So I hope you guys liked this video. If you guys did, make sure to hit that like button. If you guys would like to be notified when I put out another video, make sure to hit that bell notification. And as always, guys, please subscribe to my channel for more informational videos and DIY projects. And as always, guys, until next time, have a good one.